Have you been dreaming of travel but not sure where to go or how to begin planning? Well, you found the right podcast.
Welcome to Theme Parks and Passports, the travel podcast for every family ready to explore the world, one destination at a time. I'm Melissa Sanchez, travel addict, wife, and mom of 2 big kids. Along with planning all my family adventures, I've been helping others realize their travel dreams through my company, Spellbound Vacations, since 2010.
And I'm Heidi Mackey, a travel enthusiast with a passion for geek and pulp culture. I'm also a wife and a mom of a spicy tween. Since 2017, I've been creating vacation memories for families through my business, House of Mackey Travel. Join us as we share stories, tips, and talk to those in the know to inspire your family's next great adventure.
Because creating family travel memories can happen in any stage of life.
Hi, and welcome to Theme Parks and Passports, your podcast about all things family travel. I'm Heidi Mackey from House of Mackey Travel.
And I'm Melissa Sanchez with Spellbound Vacations. Thanks for joining us. This morning, we are joined by Eduardo, a global purpose specialist from G Adventures. Thanks for joining us, Eduardo.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into all this?
Yeah. I got into travel 25 years ago, and I studied hospitality and tourism, and I've been to close to 60 countries. I've been proudly representing G Adventures for 15 years, and I love what I do because I feel like I get to make an impact every day.
That's awesome.
Can you actually give us an overview about what G Adventures is for our listeners who aren't quite familiar with what your company does?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is small group tours, safaris, and expeditions. But who we are is quite different. We're the world's largest social enterprise in the adventure space, in the adventure travel space. And we created this organization 35 years ago with the idea of building communities and creating opportunities for more people to enjoy the benefits of tourism and the economic impact travel can have in some of the destinations that we operate. So really what we're well known for now is, of course, these amazing adventures and exciting experiences and vacations we offer all over the world, but really even more the impact that we have on the ground and kind of what our focus is and our purpose in life.
So cool. So we, as you know, our specialty is family travel. So I know with G Adventures, you guys offer 2 different types of adventures for families. You have your G Adventure Family Tours, and then your partnership with National Geographic and the National Geographic Family Journeys. Can you tell me a little bit about these adventures and how they differ from each other?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've been doing this 35 years. And, when we started, we primarily focused on just the young adventurer or the backpacker kind of immersive cultural traveler. And that was pretty much our history for about 25 years. About 10 years ago, we got into partnership with National Geographic. National Geographic was looking for a collaboration that allowed for everybody to enjoy, the world's most iconic destinations, the globe's wildlife. And, National Geographic's really focused on creating an environment for storytelling, globalization, and understanding. So they came to us to build this small group tour line and collaborate with them. And after so much success with the first line, they asked us to have a look and build the family line. And the family collection is limited for those families that have children. So not just being a part of a family, of course, hopefully we're all parts of families, but rather people that are going to be traveling with children, specifically, somewhere between age 7 and teenage years. Once they're 15, 16, 17, they start coming on the adult programs. With the National Geographic Journeys collection, we have over 80 experiences and then another 20 with the family journeys. And these are destinations to South Africa, Costa Rica, Morocco, Italy, fantastic places all over the earth. But these trips are really focused on giving the whole family an immersive experience and showing children how tourism can benefit the local community and having an impact while having a great time.
Eduardo, can you expand a little bit on what you mean by immersive?
Yeah, this social enterprise, G Adventures or G for Good, or our community of G brands, when we started, we were just looking for exceptional value, great price points, local immersive experiences where we're using locally owned hotels, local transportation, local activity providers, because we weren't just trying to give our travelers a great time with the people that live in these destinations. We were also trying to make an amazing impact. Um, and over time, this concept just grew and grew and grew. And now throughout our entire collection, all of our different travel styles, we have these ideas in mind about, how best to spend the money in destination so that it goes as far as possible to reach the people in that community and have a positive impact. And now with the family line, I think that that's super critical because it teaches the kid how tourism can be an impact, and how to be a better citizen. And this is really why people come on these trips, is because, in addition to having a vacation and taking that week out of their everyday crazy lives to spend some time together, they're also learning and appreciating and growing. It's not just escapism travel. It's an opportunity for growth while having a great time on vacation. And so these trips are extremely immersive. You'll have opportunities to interact with other communities while you're there, maybe other children while you're there, and just fabulous hands-on experiences that allow everybody in the family, whether it's grandma or the grandchildren, to connect. And that's what we're about here at G Adventures, is building these types of communities and hopefully breaking down some of those barriers that get put up around the world.
I love that. And that's one of the things I love about G Adventures, is because it is more than just, going and sitting on the beach, or, just kind of taking that local food tour.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that. And as you mentioned, like the activities that the families can do, it really shows them the local communities and lets them make somewhat of an impact while they're there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really great.
And I think it has an amazing experience on the family as well. I can focus on the community and talk about all the good that, just being there does. But honestly, the family benefits just as much. Many of us traveled with our families growing up, and maybe we went to the same house in the Jersey Shore we rented once a week, or we went to Disney every single year, or maybe that all-inclusive in Mexico. But families have a tendency to do the same thing year in and year out, especially when they've had a good time. And that's fine and fantastic. But as the years go on, we look back on those memories and they tend to blur into one. When we're going to the same destination with the same people, I've found that a lot of families that come to us looking for something special in a trip to Costa Rica or to South Africa is that they're looking to make that, that unique, memorable experience. And when we change the destination and the experience so much, every memory is unique, even decades after it occurred. And I think that that's so crucial for those families looking to create those kinds of memories.
Yeah, amazing. Can you share with us a little bit about the people who are there to help with the memory makers? I believe they're called CEOs. What does that stand for, and what do they do?
Absolutely. So with the National Geographic Family Journeys and, our G Adventures family line, and I can kind of draw some distinctions between the two now, they're both geared towards families, but the National Geographic is better supported. So in this case, in this collection, of which there are 19 experiences, we have 2 CEOs per trip. CEOs are tour guides. The rest of the industry would call them tour guides. We call them CEOs, or Chief Experience Officers, here at G Adventures. And this is a title that we bestowed on the guides long before even we had the partnership with collaboration with National Geographic. And we call them CEOs, or Chief Experience Officers, because they're the most important people in the organization. And, that title is typically reserved for the big boss, but we gave it to the people out in the field because they're the most important. They're the ones who actually deliver the experience. And the nice part about National Geographic Family Journeys is you don't just get one CEO, you have 2 CEOs. The idea is, when we built this collaboration, we built this collection of experiences, is that we would have a family from different corners of the world. So, we sell these trips in 36 different countries. Actually, only about a quarter of our travelers are from the United States. We have many families from the UK. We have many families from Australia, Europe. The trip is always in English, or English speakers. But the idea was to have 4 or 5 families from different regions to have a maximum group size of around 18 or 20 people. And that's really fantastic when that happens, because we're introducing that globalization and that friendship across borders at such a young age, and that interaction is so powerful. And those CEOs are there to facilitate that. And when we have 2 of them, sometimes we can have some diverting interest among families, right? Maybe once, the adults want to go and do the winery tour while the kids want to go to the water park or, and this is very easy facilitated when we have two guides on the same trip. And so, we do small group tours. And so maybe for the audience that's less familiar, the trips include all the accommodations, transportation, activities, and meals as described in the itinerary. But from beginning to end, those two CEOs are with the families, communicating the experience, what time to wake up, we're going to be up the next day, what we can expect for lunch, ordering it ahead. Think of them as a facilitator as well as your CEO to learning that destination.
We work with a lot of families that, like you mentioned, the cruising, the all inclusive, the theme parks every year, every summer. How would you suggest we ease our families into saying, hey, here's some small group travel. Let's do something different. What do you think is the best way to kind of ease these families into something different where they might be a little bit nervous coming out of their comfort zone?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first, understand that these trips, we're not just putting children onto these trips or families onto these adult trips. They've been specially designed with them in mind. Okay, so adjoining rooms, hotels with pools, kid-friendly menus. So I think once you start learning a little bit about what's included in the trip, you start to, satisfy that basic hierarchy of needs that the family has. So rest assured, we've thought of all of those things. Now, the idea of, okay, we're going to be traveling around Costa Rica, let's say for 8 days. I'd certainly encourage them to start with a destination that's relatively close, friendly, and, very accommodating. Costa Ricans have a wonderful culture of family and very caring people. So when you come with your children, they're very excited about this in Costa Rica. And so I would start with the destination that's a little bit closer to home, a shorter trip, and then get the children prepared for, every 2 days, we're going to be putting the clothes back into the bag, pack accordingly so that, it's relatively easy to do. But of course, we facilitate moving all of the bags around. We have a whole team of drivers and of course, your two experienced officers. The kids are very much going to go with the flow. For the people that are easing into it, if you value this type of travel yourself, your children likely will too. I understand there's, a lot of challenges in terms of the preparation and, what will they need and do they have all. There's nothing that we haven't thought of. There's nothing that's not accessible in destination. Certainly Costa Rica is a place that's had a wealth of tourism for the last 50 years. American hospitals and facilities that you'd be accustomed to at home. But we also have these trips in our own backyard, in our national parks. So maybe experiencing it in a place that's a little bit closer once you become comfortable. And I think that you're going to find that these trips are actually even easier because it's better supported than maybe even some of the other family trip options, right? Because we have those two CEOs, we have a plan. There's not a whole lot of decision making that you need to do, but there are options and free time for the family to kind of explore their own thing as well.
Now, you touched on this a little bit in your descriptions, but can you kind of put them all together? Are there age restrictions or any other restrictions that come with
Yeah.
specifically with these family tours?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, you have to have a child to come onto the trip. So somehow connected, whether you're the uncle or the cousin, somehow there has to be some kind of a family connection in order to book onto these trips. So if, two adults want to decide that they like the itinerary and they're coming on the trip, we're going to turn them away. You can only come if it's a family, sort of a unit. I mentioned earlier that we have two different lines for family. We have the National Geographic Family Journeys, which is what we're kind of focused on today, and it's a 4-star level. But we also have G Adventures Family, which is actually one click lower and better resembles our classic G Adventure authentic experience. In this collection, it's only one CEO or one guide. The accommodations are more on par what we would use with our normal collection of hotels, which is at 3.5 star or tourist class level, and it's a little bit maybe for the more adventurous family. There's only about 7 trips, but again, the price is a little bit lower, and you don't have as many inclusions and the National Geographic inclusions. The National Geographic inclusions are really special too, and we should probably take a moment to speak about that. We have these family moments where we have these very hands-on activities. For instance, in Costa Rica, we're going to have a tortilla making class. where we're going to go and speak with a local family. We're going to go into their home. They're going to have it all set up so that we're all going to be making tortillas together, and then hopefully having a little meal at the end. So there's all these little types of activities that are included that are even more comprehensive. But the minimum age for the National Geographic family trips is 7 years old, whereas with G Adventures, we go as low as 5 years old. We do have some families that are quite adventurous, even trekking in Nepal and Peru together at a very young age. Again, we sell these trips all over the world, so you can imagine the average Australian family might be a bit more adventurous than we are.
And so we've touched on age, we've touched on accommodations. Now, if you have a larger multi-gen family, let's say they're kind of looking family reunion-ish, or, the cousins want to come too. If it's a larger multi-gen, can we do private?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had said earlier that initially when we built this, we pictured a group of 20 with families from all over different regions. But as you can imagine, we've got large families here in the United States and very eager to travel together and experience these trips together. And because G Adventures is a small group tour operator, we really excel at having private experiences for larger families. So that number is typically 8 or 10. So if it's one of the trips within the National Geographic Family Journeys collection, which we're speaking about specifically today, with 10 people, we can have the entire departure private. That'll come with two CEOs, like I mentioned before. Again, all the accommodations, transportation, meals and activities as described in the itinerary, but the price remains the same. So you can have it as long as you have 10 people. The group is going private. Now, in the event that you have 7 or 8 or 9, what we'll do is just take the price of 10 and divide by the number that you have, and the trip is still private. So it's a wonderful experience, and this happens often, as you can imagine.
That's the normal number we take on a multi-gen. If my sister and I take our families and add my mom, we're 9. We're
Yes.
always 9. So
I've been
it's a
selling
fun number.
I've been selling so much individual travel and solo travel because we had an adventure background. So we're into the family market, maybe the last decade or so. But historically, we've always been that adventure traveler. So for me, it's really fun to see how quickly families get up to 8 or 9 people. It's usually a celebratory trip, and a family eager to make that once in a lifetime memory together.
And plus, once somebody hears you're going to be doing something cool, I feel like somebody else wants to go too. Like it's the ball that starts rolling.
Sure, and it creates that safety. The whole family's going, right? Peru, Costa Rica, Morocco. These are less intimidating when we're all going.
So, speaking of, some specific tours, what are you seeing that's kind of trending right now with families? Is there anything specific, like, for example, South Africa or Costa Rica or something like that?
You nailed it. South Africa all day long. I mean, we're seeing so many multi-gen kind of experiences just because um, the price points are so accessible. I mean, I think that's another thing people think about these safaris and these expeditions, and that they're, wildly priced. That it's just only for a certain type of family, and that's just not the case. With this collaboration with National Geographic, we had the vision of making it accessible for everybody from a price point perspective. So, South Africa is just one of these amazing destinations that allows us to connect with conservation, cultural preservation, and wildlife, right? It's just a wonderful experience, something that I don't think anybody could ever forget after experiencing it.
It's like you're reading our minds. Can you tell us more about the G for Good and the Planeterra donations and like how long that's been around in the history of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we started, we were like this hippie backpacking company, just kind of throwing together these amazing adventure tours where people could see the world without breaking the bank. After 10 or 15 years of doing this, we realized we weren't just giving our travelers an amazing experience. We were also doing great by the local community. We were having very real experiences and spending money locally. So after 10 or 15 years, we created Planeterra. Planeterra is the NGO arm of G Adventures. And what Planeterra does is look for business solutions for social problems in these destinations. The projects that we build with Planeterra focus on tourism related businesses that support women, families, and the environment. And so these projects give the community another outlet to benefit off tourism, but they give your travelers and our families that are visiting an opportunity to learn about how tourism goes to work, how doing the right thing can make a positive impact if we start thinking about the people it helps along the way. And so Planeterra is there to build these projects. Let me give you one example. In Peru, we bring about 40, 50,000 people to Peru every year, and we have a National Geographic
Wow.
family there as well. And a big portion of our travelers hike the Inca Trail. And this Inca Trail is a 44-kilometer trek. It takes 3 nights to get there, and you're camping along the way. It's obviously fully supported with guides and porters, and there's some opportunities to take some rough showers, let's say, along the way. And of course, we want the travelers to be responsible to the community and to the ecology there. And so we prefer that they use biodegradable soaps when they're going to be washing their hands or going into the showers. We went out to another community about 60 miles away from where the treks take place. We met a community of women there that had the knowledge of making these organic, safe for the environment soaps. And they bring it regularly over 50, 60 kilometers to where we begin the Inca Trail. And our travelers have an opportunity to buy the soaps. Not while they're buying the soap, we help them understand where the soap came from. And so the project and the money goes to benefit these local community 60 kilometers away from where tourism happens. So, these communities wouldn't normally benefit from travel and tourism because they were too far from Machu Picchu. Um, so this is just one project, but we aim to have over 300 projects by 2030 and have over 500,000 of our travelers experience one of these projects somewhere along their trip.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's one of the things I love about G Adventures, and your impact in the community is so positive. And you talked a little bit about the Inca Trail and rustic showering, and just to kind of pivot slightly,
Yeah.
families that are considering
Yeah.
these types of trips, some of them may be a little bit nervous about things like rustic showers.
Oh, yeah.
So, I can kind of relate to that.
Absolutely.
But is there a particular tour or adventure that you would recommend for those first-time travelers who are like, "Yep, we're gonna do it. We want to do something different. We're so excited." Which one do we do?
For me, I would always turn to Costa Rica or South Africa. Um, or right here in our backyard in our national parks. Within the National Geographic family journeys, it's 4-star accommodations. It's private transportation in between activities and destinations. And we tell you day by day what to expect. So you all know exactly the name of the hotel where you're going to be staying. You're going to know that day's activities, a rough outline of how many hours, how long any hike would be. All of that is going to be in a detailed itinerary. But the best thing that any family that's looking to take this kind of adventure should do is really speak to their travel professional. Melissa's been doing this a long time. They're going to look for those little things that, may not be a perfect fit for a family and suggest the right itinerary. Obviously, we have many different trips. Some are going to have more adventure or more activity than others. So it's just a matter of kind of finding the one that's right for you. I think we're happy to answer those questions and set a realistic expectation of what it's going to be like.
Actually, let's say mom and dad want to get away on their own. Can you tell us a little bit about the options that are not as family focused?
Yeah, yeah. So I should have started by saying we have over 970 experiences around the world. We go to all 7 continents. We have a fleet of yachts in the Galapagos. We have a fleet of sailboat yachts in the Mediterranean. We have many, many different travel styles and service levels. So one of the things that G Adventures and National Geographic Journeys does is that we first try and figure out who the traveler is and what interests them. And then we match them to a particular travel style. And then we talk about the destination because we know from 35 years of doing this, even more important than the destination is who you're going to be traveling with. We're fantastic at getting folks onto the right travel style We have some that focus on wellness, where you have massages and spa-like experiences and farm-to-table nutrition. This sells exceptionally well for the solo female traveler. We have these trips in Bali, Costa Rica, even in Iceland. You go and experience the geothermal spas there. That's just one of our 12 different travel styles. And we have some that are geared towards active, where all of the cycling, all of the trekking, all of the whitewater rafting is included. Now, we're an adventure company. You're going to have the opportunity to do some of that stuff on many of our trips through many of our travel styles. But when you choose the right collection, you're ensuring that you're surrounded by people who like similar things. So when you choose to go on a National Geographic trip with us, you're choosing the educational group. And that educational traveler is more likely to choose that travel style, say, over the active one. So we're very good at getting people onto the right experience. And you'll find that even in Costa Rica, for example, so we have 54 different trips. I mean, we're maybe even more now, through 12 different travel styles. And every one of them are multi-day tours with different accommodations, different experiences, and visiting different places within that country. But what's consistent is that supply chain and how we build the experience. Local, local, local. We want to make sure that our visit isn't just beneficial for the person visiting, but also for the community that we take them to. And we get that back in return.
How far out in advance can we book? Are we looking a year? Are we looking 18 months?
Sure.
If we do book fairly far out, let's say I'm booking for end of 2026 or something along those lines, are there early booking bonuses that maybe families or mom and dad can take advantage of?
Yeah, you can book these trips typically up to 2 years in advance. I would think that, okay, we're in the summer of 2025 now. We certainly have departures all the way through 2026 and maybe into 27. If not, 27 will be out within the next 2 or 3. Within the next 2 or 3 months, we'll have dates for 2027. As far as early booking discounts or anything like that, we really don't participate in that kinds of stuff. The price is the same, regardless if you bought it the day before or 2 years earlier. So occasionally we'll have a sale as a special, but not really with the National Geographic collection. It sells exceptionally well. And of course, you guys know, as selling families, it's tough to find, the right weeks where everybody can go in the family are limited to just a few. As for, the spring break and the winter break, and of course the summer months being the big ones. And so we're very cognizant of that. And moving forward, we're building even more and more departures around the most common spring break weeks. But in order to get those best peak times, you have to book early. And the nice part about G Adventures in all of our experiences, not just with the family line, is that it's a $350 deposit per person. Final payment isn't due until 90 days prior to when you depart. And when I say lifetime deposit, what I mean is that in the event that something happens, that the family can no longer go, things happen all the time. It doesn't have to be, for any reason whatsoever. If the family chooses that it's not the right time to go after making their decision, that lifetime deposit stays with that traveler for the rest of their life. So they may choose to go on another trip anytime in the future when their schedule allows for it. I would strongly encourage everybody to book early. Often these destinations that we're traveling to include airfare, and airfare is very expensive at these peak travel times. And in the event that something comes up, we've got you. We'll take care of you, and we'll make sure that we get you, your family, the experience they had originally asked for.
That sounds that's so considerate. It's not just a good policy, but it's very considerate, and it shows understanding of what life is like, especially
Yeah.
with the family.
And also,
Absolutely.
other nice stuff too. Like we'll do name changes up until 45 days prior. So, cousin
Oh, great.
Susie can't go, but now cousin Sally can. And, all of those kinds of issues are commonplace for us here at G Adventures. And, understand that we're equally as invested in seeing your family have a great time.
I love that.
Amazing.
So
Now, Melissa, I think you're gonna say the same thing as me. I believe
do.
you have one of these in your future, don't you?
I do. I'm so excited. So I'm booked on a National Geographic Journeys Kruger National Park in September, right before my host agency En Voyage, right before our conference. And I know you are also heading to Africa with us, South Africa, I should say, with us, Eduardo. So I have
That's
a
correct.
couple questions about this because I'm
Wow.
super excited. It's just me and my husband. There's my kids are big anyway, so they don't qualify for, the
Right.
tours with the younger kids. But what should I expect? What am I looking at here?
Okay, good question. So, also too, we should probably address once one of your children is 12, they may come on any of our experiences as long as they're accompanied by an adult. And also too, if you see a trip outside of the family collection that speaks to you or your family and you're taking it private, we can also go lower in age in those scenarios. So just throwing that out there for a moment. But for our experience in September, what we're looking forward to and what you should expect. Okay, so this is a 4.5 star type of experience. We don't need to be worried about mosquitoes in the room. It's fully enclosed in suite bathrooms, but it is a lodge or what we'd call chalet. It's like a thick canvas tented experience up on a platform with a little porch out front, usually overlooking a river or a lake. And you'll even see wildlife right outside of your door. Sometimes the elephants will pass through, even hippopotamus. But in between you and the animals is an electric fence. Okay.
They won't be
Yes.
having breakfast with you, but they will be near your breakfast. Yes.
Right. And that's an important distinction on the National Geographic trips, both the family and the adult collection that which we're experiencing. It's not like that on every experience that we do. We're an adventure travel company, and I've seen the hippos brush past my tent before. But in the National Geographic case, it's an elevated experience, and thus the accommodations and the setup of these lodges, which is on a private game reserve, is set up that it's got the electric fence all the way around, pools. We have private transportation between Johannesburg and up to the Kruger National Park, where we're going to begin our experience and spend 2 nights there, and then go 2 nights over to the private game reserve. And the private game reserve is really like where the experience is, because this is where we're going to be going through the bush with an open air Land Rover and with your cameras out, click, click,
Wow.
click, 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 click. And where you get and the National Geographic researcher actually joins us on the game drive and gives us the explanation along the way. So we're out there spotting and looking for wildlife. It's so dense with wildlife that you really don't know which way to look. It's just an incredible experience, and you're going to be with our CEOs throughout the entire experience. All of the travelers can feel safe and secure, but know that you come with us for that sense of adventure, and we want to get you close to the elephants. You'll smell the musk off the tuskers. That's how we call the big male elephants, the tuskers. Just a wonderful experience.
We're both really excited. I've got all my vaccines. I've got my safari hat. Like
Yeah.
I'm good to go. I've got to get my binoculars and I've got my meta glasses to wear and
Yeah.
record. So
Yeah.
I'm genuinely like stupidly excited about this. This is such a bucket list trip for me. And I know for many people,
Right.
South Africa and safari. And my son actually was in Tanzania and Zanzibar 2 years ago. And just looking at his pictures and talking to him about his adventures, we were like, oh my God, we have to get there. And then of course, En Voyage's conference, which is going to follow my safari that you'll be at, Eduardo. Heidi, you're going to be at with me. We're so excited to stay at Sun City and
Yeah, absolutely.
do all of that too.
I can't wait. I'm so excited and fortunate to have you and your colleagues join us on for these safari. I mean, for your community to learn a little bit more about our community tourism and how travel can really make an impact. I hope it resonates with you.
I think it will. I do.
I think that there are so many options out there now for any type of either adventure or even just experience with your family that you're looking for an additional piece, an additional reason. And I think that the G for Good program and just all the give back that you do makes it stand out from others.
And conversely, when we teach families and travelers how to be good travelers, they put that pressure on other suppliers to do the same. It's, people always want to blame the cruise line or the all inclusive for, not being a little bit more responsible or, doing things a little bit better for the communities that they're visiting or that they exist in. And, they're to blame, but we're also as travelers to blame. Once we put the emphasis on these are the things that are important to us, we're not willing to take a vacation that doesn't benefit the community, things will change dramatically. And in the 15 years that I've been speaking on these subjects, they have changed dramatically. I just was at an all-inclusive in Puerto Vallarta, Secrets Dreams property, and I was overwhelmed with how much community tourism they had incorporated into their business, whether it be the soaps in the bathrooms or bringing in outside vendors to sell little souvenirs, and that money goes to that community. These are small steps, but when the public asks for it, the world becomes a better place because the companies have to do it in order to drive their bottom lines. And so by creating better travelers, we're creating better people and better communities.
So I think we've come to the time where we like to wrap up each one of our podcasts with a section called Would You Rather. So we give you a couple options and you tell us just from your heart what you think. For this week, our Would You Rather is, would you rather track wild animals on safari or go on a multi-day backpacking trip through the national parks?
Oh, I'd much rather track wildlife on safari. In fact, we do it. Yes. We have a program in our G Lux collection, which is one we hadn't spoken about today, but it's an adults only active line, a little bit for the discerning adventurer, somebody who's, really wants the wows out of the experience, where they'll go on foot and trek through the savannah looking for
Oh,
wildlife.
wow.
And that's an incredible experience. So yeah, and that's one I've been looking at myself. So that was an easy pick.
Mm.
Oh, nice. Melissa, you kind of have both of these adventures coming up in a way, don't you? So
I
which
do.
don't
I'm
want to make you pick between your two favorite kids, but
I know this is a tough one because in 2 weeks I'm heading out with another supplier through some of the national parks, Grand Canyon, Zion, Bryce. This is my first time visiting those destinations also. However, my choice would be tracking the wild animals on safari, and I may need to look into that G-Lux option because the thought of actually like being in the bush and like looking for the animals is, yeah, totally something I could go for. So for this, I'm gonna stick with safari.
I think just because I'm not as stealthy as I think I am, I may have to go with the backpacking through the national parks. I feel as though I would absolutely ruin it, not only for myself, but for everybody else if we were tracking animals. But I think I could be just as excited and wow everything like I normally would on a national park. So I'd probably pick that one first, but I would love to do either. They sound amazing.
There's no wrong answer. They're both beautiful destinations. I was just in Moab myself, and my wife cried. She thought it was so beautiful that we were on this jet boat ride in the Colorado River, and I look over and tears coming down. I thought she was scared or it was, frightening her, and she said, "No, it's so beautiful."
Yeah.
So just wonderful, yeah, wonderful experiences in both places.
Yeah, and I saw those photos that your wife posted, and it was breathtaking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can understand. I could cry just thinking about it. Honestly, like I'm so excited for all these adventures, and I'm sure you're both excited for South Africa and the adventures we're gonna have together there.
Yeah.
So, Eduardo, thank you so much for joining us this week. We're so excited to learn a little bit more about G Adventures presented to our clients. And hopefully, all you families listening, you mom and dads, we're going to get you booked on a G Adventure so you can have those adventurous vacations with your family too. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to be here, and working with Melissa and Spellbound has been, it's just always a pleasure, and hopefully you guys feel that way when you book your vacations there as well.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit subscribe on Spotify or your favorite podcast player. And while you're there, feel free to leave us a rating and review.
Check out the show notes for links to Spellbound Vacations LLC and House of Mackie Travel. Until next time, keep living your best travel life.